want to ask you about Jay-Z's album.
I think it's genius. I mean, like all of his projects, I thought it was really great.
I would hope he would think about it and this would be in his mind, but I wouldn't actually know what another person is feeling.
Jay-Z, the billionaire rap titan who flipped a Marcy Project hustle into a global empire, now finds himself at the center of a scandal that threatens to unravel everything he's built. This isn't about past feuds or vague subliminals. This is personal. Flesh and blood accusations, real people, real pain, are surfacing. Not from one person, but from multiple individuals claiming they are his abandoned children. Each story paints a picture of women raising kids in silence, while a man they believe is their father built a kingdom of loyalty and generational wealth. But the silence? It's over. These claims aren't just whispered rumors anymore. They're hitting social media.
I have no felonies. I'm not crazy and none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And it seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything. So, I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
Media feeds, court documents, and even coming from family members who allegedly sat on the truth for decades. They are stepping forward now, not for clout, but for recognition, for justice, and for the legacy they say they were denied. What makes this even wilder is the timing. Just as Jay-Z continues to mold his image as a cultural father figure, the ghosts of the past are showing up, and they are not asking anymore. They are demanding to be seen. The spark came from a 28-year-old woman named Letitia Murr, who detonated the internet with a video claiming she's Jay-Z's long-lost daughter. This wasn't...
No, this part is not alleged. Jay-Z and his team, they have been ducking and dodging, taking
some clout-chasing stunt. Letitia says the truth is written in her face. The mirror never lies, she declares. But what really turned heads was a family backing. A woman claiming to be her sister went viral for posting, "I hooked your mother and father up years ago." That one sentence sent a tremor through the industry, and Letitia's story was suddenly too big to ignore. But Letitia's not standing alone in this. Enter Raime Satchel, a name that's haunted Jay-Z's legal team for over a decade. Raime has been begging for one thing, a DNA test. Not a payout, not fame, just the truth. But instead of answers, he's been met with years of sealed filings, dodged court dates, and what looks less like legal protocol and more like a billion-dollar firewall. While Jay-Z raps about legacy and bloodlines, these two alleged children are outside the gates, demanding the one thing money shouldn't be able to silence, acknowledgement. Jay-Z's legal team has waved off the accusations, calling them harassment or attempts at extortion. But let's be honest, if there's nothing to hide, why fight a simple swab? This isn't the 1980s. DNA takes minutes. Yet behind the polished legal responses, a darker narrative is gaining traction. One that doesn't start or stop with Jay-Z. Whispers from industry insiders suggest that Beyoncé, queen of the Carter Empire and master of image control, allegedly drew a hard line. Keep the outside kid away from a family, or risk it all. And if that's true, it could explain a lot. The delays, the silence, the refusal to test. Is Jay-Z protecting his wife, or hiding from a truth that could break the internet? Either way, it's starting to look less like strategy and more like desperation in a designer suit. And that's just scratching the surface. According to a former Rock Nation insider, Jay-Z isn't as disconnected from these alleged children as he wants the public to believe. There's talk of a secret shadow fund, off-the-books money allegedly used for rent, school, and everyday needs tied to unnamed individuals, or supposedly wrapped in NDAs thick enough to choke a court clerk. That same insider says Beyoncé found out about the fund in late 2022, and it sparked an emotional ice age in the Carter household. Tension, silence, closed-door meetings. No one screaming divorce, but the word bliss doesn't quite fit either. And let's not forget, Jay already admitted to cheating. They made it public art. But this isn't about infidelity. It's about legacy, bloodline, and the uncomfortable idea that the Carter Empire might have hidden A's, grown adults, quietly erased to protect the image of a perfect dynasty. Because in Beyoncé's world, the brand is a kingdom, and Blue Ivy, Rumi, and Sir are the crowned heirs. So what happens when two fully grown people show up with receipts that could rewrite that royal story? Suddenly, what's at stake isn't just family. It's the future of the entire Carter Empire. And now, we're looking at more than emotional claims. Raime's Satchel's case has been dragged through the court system like a cursed file. Judges bouncing it back. Filings delayed. One judge even called Jay-Z's legal arguments misleading when it came to property ownership used to avoid court jurisdiction. That's not just messy. That's strategic chaos. Raime's mother, Wanda, swore under oath that she had a brief affair with Jay-Z when she was just 16 years old. That alone adds a dark undertone to the timeline. And while Jay-Z's lawyers argue that this has been thrown out, the reality looks more like a game of dodgeball than due process. Sealed motions, redacted records, a trail of breadcrumbs leading to locked courtroom doors. Meanwhile, Letitia Murr is cutting through the noise with raw emotion. She talks about growing up in a town where everyone knew who her father was, except the man himself. She raised her own kids while caring for her sick mother. But she's not crying for sympathy. Her tone? It's firm, unapologetic. It's the sound of someone done being silent. And now both her story and Raime's are forcing uncomfortable questions into the spotlight. Not just about Jay-Z's personal choices, but about power, image, and the legacy he's spent decades building. If even one of these claims proves true, this isn't just a PR scandal. She's not chasing fame. She's not after money. She wants acknowledgement. Letitia Murr isn't whispering into the void. She's demanding to be seen. And the receipts? They're compelling. Her relatives back her claims, including an aunt who swears she saw Jay-Z and Letitia's mother together multiple times in the early 90s. Cards, drinks, laughs. It all sounded like harmless fun until a child came out of that picture, invisible and ignored. And now that child is grown, unapologetic, and speaking with the force of someone who's been quiet far too long. Let's be clear, this isn't a viral stunt or a random accusation out of nowhere. It's a disturbing pattern. Two different people, from different lives, different states, saying the same thing. Jay-Z is my father. And instead of resolution, both hit the same wall of silence, sealed court filings, and legal gymnastics. Meanwhile, whispers suggest something darker, rumors of secret freak-off tapes involving the elite. If either Letitia or Raime were born from those infamous Didier parties, then this becomes more than a paternity issue. It becomes containment crisis. And yes, that brings us to the elephant in the room. Diddy, Jay-Z's longtime associate and frequent collaborator, is drowning in lawsuits. And Jay? His radio silent. Not one public defense. No support. Some believe it's strategy, cutting ties before the fire spreads. Others say it's fair, because both men were named in a civil suit that alleges something unthinkable went down at a 2000 industry party. Jay-Z denied it and dared the accuser to go criminal. But optics matter, and the silence is radioactive. Zoom out, and the story gets even messier. Jay-Z, the man known for his truth-telling bars and billion-dollar business plays, is now being painted as someone hiding his own bloodline. Beyoncé, usually untouchable, is allegedly delivering ultimatums behind the scenes. And miles away from any red carpet, two adults are staring in mirrors, asking the same question: why won't he claim me? If legacy is everything to the Carters, what happens when that legacy cracks from the inside? And here's where things shift from uncomfortable to undeniable. Jay-Z still hasn't said a word. No voice, no interview, not even a lyric wrapped in metaphor. But the internet? It's done waiting. The hashtag the test is everywhere. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Side-by-side photos. Mirror, mirror. You can't deny DNA. Even longtime fans are beginning to fold, demanding receipts from a man who's built an empire on transparency and control. The silence doesn't feel like power anymore. It feels like evasion. And that silence, it's now leaking into the business. Quiet grumbles behind corporate doors. PR teams on standby. Because this isn't just about a swab anymore. It's about power, control, and public perception. Jay and Bey are infamous for crafting flawless narratives. Every move, every project, every outfit is orchestrated. But this scandal is messy, emotional, and completely out of their control. Insiders say the game plan is to starve the story. Let it die from lack of attention. But fans haven't moved on, and every week, new clips and old lawsuits drag it right back. Every time a new child speaks, the silence deepens, like an unspoken confession. And after that upcoming Diddy documentary drops, expect the focus to widen. More names, more connections. And Jay-Z? He might be next in line for the fall. But he's not the only one in the spotlight now. The gaze is creeping toward Beyoncé, the woman who has always been one step ahead. Her silence is no longer viewed as grace. It's starting to feel like self-protection. Some say Beyoncé isn't staying quiet for Jay-Z. She's doing it for the brand. Because if even one of these claims is proven true, the dynasty changes. Blue Ivy is no longer the firstborn. The Carter legacy gets reshuffled. And suddenly, the picture-perfect empire starts to look like a fractured fairy tale. And fans are starting to connect dots. Beyoncé has half-siblings she's never acknowledged publicly. Not in interviews. Not in documentaries. Not in any Vogue spread or family footage. Or maybe this isn't just about scandal. Maybe it's about protecting the illusion of perfection. Because once that flawless Carter armor cracks, once even Beyoncé's empire starts to show wear and tear, what else begins to fall apart? Sources close to the situation say Queen Bee isn't just upset, she's furious. Not because the accusations exist, but because they made it this far. This was supposed to be handled, buried in airtight legal filings and drowned in glossy PR before it ever saw daylight. According to one entertainment executive with ties to Parkwood, Beyoncé's team treats narratives like national security threats, especially ones involving paternity claims. She doesn't do chaos, the source said. She does legacy. And make no mistake, legacy is exactly what's on the line. Around the time these whispers started, Beyoncé was launching her solo career after Aaliyah's tragic death. Timing matters. So does control. And this mess was never supposed to touch the throne. Because if Blue Ivy is the golden heir, Grammy wins, Disney cameos, runway poses, then everything depends on the image of her being born into greatness. But if Jay-Z spent years secretly bankrolling other children, dodging tests, and hiding truth behind NDAs, that image doesn't just take a hit. It implodes. And perception is the currency that built the Carters. Streaming deals, luxury partnerships, billion-dollar tours, none of it survives long when the illusion is shattered. And don't be fooled, this isn't just drama for the blogs. If even one of these children is proven to be his, legally the Carter fortune becomes a war zone. That $2 billion estate, now in question. Trusts, inheritance, succession, all up in smoke. Blue Ivy may be the princess of the Carter dynasty today, but tomorrow she could be one of many heirs. And if more claimants come forward, the empire gets tangled in a web of secrets it can no longer control. And just when it couldn't get worse, another bombshell. A Jane Doe civil suit originally filed against Diddy was amended to include Jay-Z. The accusation? Assault. The victim? Just 13 years old. The story? Chilling. Denials are flying, but the headlines are growing teeth. And while his lawyers work overtime, the court of public opinion is already forming its own verdict. Suddenly, this isn't just about legacy. It's about survival, reputation, and whether Jay-Z can outrun the tidal wave that's now at his heels. But beyond the legal fallout and billion-dollar brand damage, there's a much colder truth. What happens to the people at the center of this storm? The alleged children. Like Rymer and Letitia, they've grown up in the shadows, watching, waiting, speaking up. Watching the man they believe is their father build an empire without ever acknowledging them. No red carpets. No birthday calls. Just silence. That kind of rejection doesn't disappear. It leaves scars. Their lives weren't built on private jets and platinum plaques. They were built on resilience, on hope, and on the crushing weight of being erased. If Jay-Z ever does acknowledge them, what then? Will they be welcomed into the fold or kept in the shadows forever? The internet may root for a reunion, but real life doesn't tie up in bows. Especially not when Beyoncé's influence is still looming large. Insiders believe that even if these children are accepted on paper, they may never be allowed into the narrative. No seats at the Grammy table. No mentions in tribute songs. Just recognition without inclusion. Jay-Z may have played the quiet genius, always observing, always calculating. But what was he really taking notes on? While the world applauded his evolution from Marcy to mogul, others say he was quietly rewriting history to fit a brand. And now that brand is under threat. Not from tabloids, but from flesh and blood. There's a generational weight pressing down on this story. Blue Ivy, roomy, and so were born into a curated kingdom, a life of legacy tours, red carpets, and designer fairy tales. But what happens when TikTok clips, DMs, or school whispers reveal that they may not be the only Carters? That there are siblings, grown, hurt, and unheard, watching from the outside? That kind of revelation doesn't just shake family trees. It shatters foundations. Because this has always been about control. The Carters didn't rise by letting narratives get ahead of them. They controlled the story, the image, the brand. Always. But now, that control is slipping. These alleged children aren't going away. They are not asking for pity. They are asking for acknowledgement. And when the law, public pressure, and time collide, even a dynasty can be forced to redefine what family really means. Let's not forget, this scandal isn't just emotional. It's legal. Multiple lawsuits are still active, cutting across state lines with claims of fraud, tampering, even constitutional violations. May's case alone reads like a thriller. Sealed records, bounced judges, and whispers of misconduct tied directly to Jay-Z's legal machine. If this is all baseless, why does it keep rising from the ashes? Why does it feel like someone's trying so hard to bury it? And then there's a fire Oskino lit, claiming Jay-Z quietly bought a house for Letitia May's mother, but demanded his image stay hidden from the walls. That's not denial, that's shadow parenting. If those payments are traced, if that house exists, it's no longer speculation. It's evidence, not in tabloids, but in transaction logs. The kind of receipts that can't be scrubbed by PR or drowned out by another tour announcement. Every moment Jay-Z and Beyoncé stay silent, the story builds momentum. Not because people are rooting for chaos, but because we all feel something's off. If even one paternity claim sticks, the Carter blueprint, the empire, the image, the legacy has to be rewritten. They won't fall. They are too big for that. But the rewrite might expose things they spent decades trying to keep in the vault. And here's the twist. If Beyoncé's been playing fixer behind the scenes, silencing stories, issuing ultimatums, keeping outsiders at bay, it could flip the whole empowerment narrative. The queen of feminism, of freedom, accused of deleting lives to preserve her crown. That's not just irony. That's fallout. And we've seen what fallout does in Hollywood. So what now? Will Jay-Z finally take the test? Will the alleged children get justice or be buried in paperwork and hush clauses? And most importantly, what else is hiding behind those billion-dollar smiles, in those silent years, in those redacted pages? You tell us, are the Carters protecting what's sacred or hiding something that could rewrite music history forever?